You should hear him teaching us Kabbalah. It's amazing how much knowledge is in your brain. It's amazing. He channels it. He couldn't know all that. Anyway, I'm so glad that you've all, as I said, joined us, because I really feel that this is such a wonderful community, that we are here, a place where we can come, feel comfortable, have a good time, listen to good music, and now you're going to listen to me. And I'm sorry Barry's not here. All the Barry fans, because that's a good 10 minutes right there.
Yeah, we're running 10 minutes early, aren't we?
Yeah, we are. God bless them. Okay, so we're going to talk about each of us. We're going to talk about divine power. So each of us is on a unique walk during this lifetime, each and every one of us. And while each pathway is unique, there is a common urge within each of us to transcend the mundane, so that we might experience higher levels of being, higher levels of thinking, higher levels of behaving in this human experience that we're all in together. So we'll always remember, we're always becoming, we're always expanding. So as we are becoming more, this is our natural urge is to become more, to become. And that is the way spirit is. It's always becoming more of itself. So I believe that this urge in each of us to reach for these transcendent ways of living is fueled by an underlying deeper urge, a deeper desire to experience our oneness with the divine, to experience our oneness, to deepen our understanding of what that even means. Because we are all truly one. And that's what we keep saying, but really, even for myself, it's a repetitive thing to remember, even during all of the ups and downs in life, to remember that there's a power for good, and we can use it. It's in us. So this month, we've been looking at the invisible behind the visible, which is basically the law of cause and effect. Cause being the invisible, and effect being the visible, what we experience. So today we're going to look at the pathway of power, divine power. And so as I was thinking about that word, power, and its meaning, there's a lot wrapped up in those 5 little letters, power. Okay, so I'm going to give you a bunch of words that came to me with power, and I had to stop. Okay, so we have solar power, horsepower, political power, flower power, battery power, girl power, nuclear power, black power, absolute power, willpower, star power, power hour, power line, power hitter, power bar, power tool, power train, PowerPoint, power up, power down, power outage, power play, power wash, power to the people, power versus force, power of now, power of positive thinking, and Powerball, and then of course, I was running out of power. And then of course there's a power for good in this universe, and you can use it, okay? Power is everywhere, all of the time. It is within each and every one of us. And that last statement was coined by Ernest Holmes, the founder of religious science. And that is, there's a power for good, and you can use it. This is so absolute, but we have to keep reminding ourselves sometimes because we lose sight of that. And so we can use this power for good because it's inside of us. It's within us, and we connect with it. We connect with it. That's what we do in the classes. We connect with that power for good, and we let it influence our lives, direct guide our lives, so we can experience happier lives. So it is our internal power, the internal power, a pathway of power. And it's not an external walk. It's an inside job. It's always going to be an inside job. We're never going to find our good out there. It's within. It's inside each and every one of us. so it's up to us to access it. And we're going to talk about that today, connecting with it. We're going to use the teaching of Jesus today, the way shower, the great example, not the exception. That's what we in New Thought believe. This great mystic, this infinite person who really knew about the oneness of all that is and taught that. And so he had a lot of profound teachings, but one of the most fabulous teachings about the use of internal power comes from Matthew in chapter 8, where we learn of the miracle of the calming of the sea. And I suspect that maybe some of you have heard about that one. And in case you need a refresher, we're going to do it again. Jesus spent the day preaching and teaching and healing. And so when the day was through, he and his disciples got in a boat and they're traveling to their next gig. And so Jesus was pretty tired, so he fell asleep. He fell asleep. And suddenly a violent storm erupted, and the sea became very rough. So rough, in fact, that the boat was being tossed about and the waves were crashing over and flooding the boat. And his disciples got scared, and they woke Jesus up, saying, "Lord, save us. We are perishing. We are going to perish." And Jesus said to them, "Why are you fearful, O you of little faith?" Then he got up, rebuked the wind and the sea, and there was a great calm. But the men were astonished. The disciples were astonished, saying, "Who is this man, that even the winds and the sky obey him, the sea obey him?" Who was this man who transcended conditions? He did this by living at a higher level of being, a higher level of understanding his oneness, his unity with the great I Am. He was a man who lived in constant connection and communion with his internal source of good, which we all have. But he was so enlightened that he could connect with it and live from it and believe it fully and completely, no doubt. He was a man who knew how to use his power for good. And I want to look at three elements. I think there are three important elements of this miracle of the calming of the stormy seas, and see how they can be teaching moments for each and every one of us, and on our pathway to power, to learning how to use this power. So the first was Jesus was asleep. The second is, "O you of little faith." And the third is, Jesus rebuked the wind. So Jesus was asleep. Often being asleep is a metaphor for unconscious or unaware. And sometimes it's in an unhealthy connotation. But I don't believe that applies to this story here today. Instead, the interpretation should be one of the one who is serene, who is calm, at peace, allowing, unafraid, even detached. In other words, not uptight, not nervous, not controlling, not afraid. What's important here is not that Jesus fell asleep, but that he stayed asleep, even during all of that, all of the conditions of the waves flooding the boat and all of these stormy seas. He stayed asleep. And he probably would have slept right through it if the apostles didn't wake him up. He would have stayed asleep. In other words, he was not bothered. He was not bothered by what was going on in the outside world. He was calm. He was centered. He knew all was well. He knew it that strongly. So if we replace the word asleep with the words I just used a moment ago, we would get, Jesus stayed serene, at peace, allowing, unafraid, and detached as the storm raged on. Serene, at peace, allowing, unafraid, and detached. These are carefully selected words. because these are power words. And we're going to be talking about power words today, because they will serve you very well. So the second part of his miracle is, O ye of little faith, or O you of little faith. His disciples got scared and woke Jesus, saying, Our Lord, save us, we are perishing. And Jesus said to them, Why are you fearful, O you of little faith? This must have been one of Jesus' favorite quotes, because he's using it. He uses it quite often. It's quoted in the Bible. And there was one passage, maybe you've heard this one, and it goes, Since God so brilliantly adorned the lilies of the field, which today are here and tomorrow thrown on the fire, why would he not do the same for you, O you of little faith? Again. But I get an image of a gentle man, a gentle Jesus, not an irritated one who's saying to his disciples, you know, realizing that they have just not gotten it yet, but a gentleman, a good teacher, a really good teacher. So the disciples just had not come to understand that they can trust and believe they can remain steadfast in knowing that there is the very essence of life in and around and through each and every one, in and around and through all circumstances, because as we've said before, and in the Bible it says, and it came to pass. Remember, we've used that one week. It didn't come to stay, it came to pass. So this too shall pass, where that phrase came from. It came to pass, not to stay. So it's safe to say that all they had to put their faith in were these words: gentle, trusting, believing, steadfast. These are some more of those power words. And then we go into rebuke the winds. Jesus knew that he had immediate access to power. He knew this. He knew this. And that he could use it. He could use it. And in religious science terminology, we would have said, or we do say, he spoke his word, and the law responded. He spoke his word, and the law naturally responds to whatever we think, speak, or feel. Consciously or subconsciously, it's doing its job. It's bringing into manifestation that which we think, speak, or feel. And so, the mother of New Thought, who I absolutely love, Emma Curtis Hopkins, we'll be studying her in our Roots class. Her classic book that we do use in that class is Scientific Christian Mental Science. She said, we have an unlimited power. If we do not use that power, it does not alter the fact that it is our inheritance. It's already there. The power's there. The abundance is there. The peace is there. But it's up to us to access it, to move into it, to use it. To use it. That's our choice. Science of Mind, Ernest Holmes writes, we are dealing with the same power that molds the planets and all that is upon them. And the limit of our ability to use this power is not in principle, but in our understanding of it. That's what we deepen, folks. We don't deepen the spiritual truth. We deepen our understanding of what the spiritual truth is. Because as we say, this is a spirituality to use. It's practical spiritual philosophy, spirituality, and religion that we talk about here. And it's up to us to deepen our understanding of what it really is and how we can really use it for our good. So Jesus understood and used this power. And he used it with confidence, with courage, with purpose, and unselfishly. So these are, again, a few more power words. So I've used some specific words this morning. and selected them intentionally because they are power words, which means something, and we're going to get to that in a minute. So I've used so far confidence, courage, purpose, unselfish, gentle, trusting, believing, steadfast, serene, at peace, allowing, unafraid, and detached. And so who's familiar with the book by David Hawkins, Power versus Force? Yeah, I think a few people might have read that book. Great book. In it, he uses kinesiology to calibrate attitudes, to calibrate the way people are thinking and feeling. And this is based on a numerical scale. So it's all numbers. Anything calibrating over 200 is considered to be tapping into the power. And anything that's calibrating under 200 is tapping into the force. And you're going to make things happen. Force. Doesn't feel good. So every word that I've chosen this morning, which Jesus so beautifully taught in the experience of calming the seas, is calibrated at way over 200. Way over 200. Really high. So in Power versus Force, Hawkins has a 2-page listing of attitude pairings, okay? Attitude pairings, one of which calibrates at over 200 and the other one below. Hawkins suggests that just by reading over this list, it's like reading over the Kabbalah, you know, over the letters in the Kabbalah. You don't have to understand them. The power is in those words, whether we understand them or not. For these ones, I think we can understand a little bit better. So we become acquainted with the difference between the two. And what this does, it increases our power. It increases our knowledge. It increases the way we live life. And he writes, this is what Hawkins writes, with these distinctions in mind, we'll start to notice things we never observed before. Such revelations occur because the universe favors power. The universe doesn't favor force. Is anything in the universe is force? It's power. It's power. It flows unobstructed. It flows. So here are the word pairings. I'm going to read them for you. So above 200 and below 200. You choose which one. Peaceful is above. Belligerent. Serene, dull. Allowing, controlling. Detached, removed. Confident, arrogant. Courageous, reckless. Purposeful, desirous. Unselfish, selfish. Gentle, rough. Trusting, gullible or afraid. Believing, insistent. Steadfast, faltering. So those see, that's the power of our words. They're so powerful that they're calibrated in this higher realm, this higher vibration. So that's why it's important to watch what we speak and what we think. It's reflecting what we feel. Don't we want to calibrate higher? I think so. So we each have access to this great power, and those words that we use, the languaging we use, is so important in accessing our indwelling power. So according to Hawkins, and this I always love this, and I'm glad I have it written down because I always mess it up. One individual vibrating at the level 300, which you're all way doing now, counterbalances 90,000 individuals who are calibrating below 200. One individual at the level 400 counterbalances 400,000 individuals below 200. One individual at the level 500 counterbalances 750 individuals who are vibrating and calibrating below 200. So when people say, what can I do? I have nothing, can do nothing. I can do everything. By our thinking, we are affecting the consciousness of this planet. By our feeling, by the words we speak. We are, do you see how the light, which is the power of over 200 for sure, is so much more powerful over so many than the lower vibration of under 200. So I of myself can do everything, each one of us. As we move into speaking, feeling, and thinking, those high vibrational power words, they're power words. They access our indwelling power. So this morning, let's amp up our conscious use of power. And so I ask you to gently close your eyes, if you choose. Take a deep breath. Just gonna lead in a brief meditation.